My name is Chris Brackley. I'm a cartographer, and I'm a cartographer because I've always been an explorer to a greater or lesser degree. My love for cartography started when I was working at a canoe tripping camp in Algonquin Park, and I had a really strong desire to know more than I had ever known about the park by getting deeper into it. Maps were the gateway to getting deeper into Algonquin Park, and everything about the maps, from what they revealed to how beautiful they were, inspired me to want to get connected with making maps myself. I think for me, there is a treasure revealed in maps, but the treasure isn't gold or silver. The treasure for me is what lays beyond the hill that I know. And without a doubt, when I got maps that were showed other parts of this place that I knew well, and I only had poor maps, when I got a better map and went to the other side of the hill, I found a world that literally was transformative. It was another place that I didn't imagine. So it was almost more like going to Neverland than it was finding a treasure, and it really was an incredible feeling, an incredible opportunity presented by the maps. Finding things in the bush that I'd never known of before and that I felt many may not even be aware of was inspiring, exciting, and I jotted them down in rough ways onto the map. And then the notion of sharing this information came to mind, and I thought, boy, if we could actually take this beyond my little printed map and share this with the wider community, my camp, with others, it would be incredible. When people ask me, you know, haven't we mapped everything? Why on earth would we need a cartographer in this day and age? They're assuming that maps are basically about wayfinding and about base mapping, looking at just where rivers, lakes, buildings, roads, and all of that basic stuff are. Those maps can still be wonderful. I still make maps like that and things can be revealed. But almost more interesting in the age of big data, in the age of gluts and volumes of data, much of which is geographically referenced, is the ability to layer things together and to see interconnections, to look at how things relate to each other and start to see patterns and start to see aspects of how different elements that may not usually be thought of in the same breath may relate with each other. Everything has a geographical context. And sometimes, if the cartographer does a good job, chooses the right data, symbolizes it in the right way, revelations can be revealed from a good map. Where are people? What are people doing? What kind of people are where across the landscape? What kind of forest is across the landscape? What kind of pollution interacts with the forest and the people across the landscape? And when we start to stack that stuff together, patterns get revealed in a graphical sense that you would never be able to imagine without seeing it laid out in one place at one time. I, as a cartographer, take a very different approach. My maps are static. They are not interactive. They're not things that you can turn things on and turn things off and sort of bend it to your own whims or desires. My maps are the distillation of a very complicated set of information oftentimes. In the technical age, in an age of big data, there's so much information out there. And a cartographer's job, a very significant part of a cartographer's job, is simplification and symbolization by making intelligent choices about what you include or what you don't include on a map. Stories are revealed, patterns are shown, and a well-designed static map can say as much, and in my opinion, much more, than a map that has every piece of information at your disposal that you can then sort of play with and manipulate on your own. I have had the privilege of being able to work with a number of environmental groups on map making over the last long while, and specifically on maps as they relate to urban change, urban growth in this southern Ontario, where we have a rate of growth and a rate of paving over agricultural land that is certainly among the fastest on the planet. And as we do this kind of land-based change, as we grow, we need to be looking at how we're growing. Are we growing in the right places? What are we losing? What are we gaining? And nothing describes the story of how things are changing, of how things relate to each other, of the relationship between pollution and where people live, all of the interrelated aspects of what happens on the land than a map. A map is it's a communication piece which speaks volumes very quickly if it's done right, if it's designed well. If the cartography is good, if the symbolization is good, if you can see the patterns revealed very clearly, then you start to understand the relationships between different items, different elements of what's happening on the landscape. And through that, through a graphic representation of, oh my goodness, this aspect of what we're doing societally is happening too close to this other aspect. My gosh, this is happening too fast, as you see a map that shows how things change over time. insights, revelations, thoughts, ideas are revealed, and policies certainly can change and have changed based on looking at the way that we're using the land. Maps, when they're of a place that somebody knows, what I call a heart place. If a map is of the lake that your cottage is on, or if a map is of a place where you grew up, they evoke your history, they evoke yourself, they evoke memories.